What's going on, guys? We have Relentlessly Bullied Hero #1. And this was one that I first got aware of because a YouTube creator that I like to follow highly recommended it. And after listening to the creator Hero Darky Dark talk about it, it sounded pretty interesting. And, I went and checked it out and it really appealed to me. So I'm like, okay, what's the harm in giving it a try? And I got to say, after reading it, I really enjoy what I read, and I went ahead and got issue 2, which I'll be reviewing soon thereafter. So let's just get on into it. So we have our, just our opening page, and these are our two main protagonists, and I'll introduce them as we get there. But yes, everything's going to be in black and white, so my camera may or may not have some issue picking up and showing you guys everything, but that's okay. So, Relentlessly Bullied Hero #1, the oddball hero. Hero Darky Dark, or Ken Virgil, is our writer. And then our artist is Jose Debu. We'll just Jose. So, all right. And this page, it doesn't look to be too relevant. It does look like it's just an art page. So our story takes off, and here is a villain called Berserker. And he is just trying to make everybody aware of him. He's really trying to up his game and make himself a name in the villain world. And so he's just blowing shit up. That's what he likes to do. And so word gets around through the news and whatnot. And our main hero, Zeal, catches wind of this, and he's like, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Let's go ahead and stop this guy. So he climbs up to the rooftops to get over there quickly, and he is checked into the ground by this villainess named Grimoria. Now, these two have a connected history, and Zeal actually will not go after her, even though he's a hero and she's a villain. There is a connection between them, and we will discover it as time goes on, so I won't reveal that right this second. So basically, she's not trying to hurt him. She just basically wants to fuck with him. Just like, hey, I understand you're on your way to go thwart some dastardly evildoers, but how about you don't for at least a little bit, and just kind of holds him there and, just messes with him. And she does, in fact, use her powers to kind of hold him there. And we can gather right from the get-go, her powers are based on the 7 deadly sins, and in which case right now she's using pride, which I do believe gives her like a superhero strength, like a supernatural strength. And she pins him there and is like, hey, don't worry, I'll give you your hero moment, but not quite yet. We're just going to wait. And then she begins to count down. And while this countdown is going on, our villain here, Berserker, he is, he's finishing up what he's set off to do, and he's blowing some stuff up, and then bids everybody farewell by saying, "Bye-bye." And then by the time he makes his getaway, that's when Grimoria goes ahead and lets Zeal go. Zeal catches up with Berserker, and he uses his powers, and it's like a shadow-like power. And the two start having it out, and most of the dialogue is just, your typical villain hero back and forth. You're an evildoer, and you're just a do-gooder, that kind of stuff. While trading blows back and forth, until ultimately Berserker gets the better of Zeal and makes his getaway. He says, "This is it for now, but don't you worry. This was just a taste of what's to come. I'll be sure to send you an invitation when my next event is ready." Zeal recovers. He tries to chase after him, but Berserker's all gone. Grimoria then reappears and is like, oh, I thought you would have done better against a newbie villain like that, since you guys are kind of on an even playing field. I didn't expect you to lose. And there was a particular line of dialogue that I liked from Zeal. He's like, I did not lose. I just simply failed to win. And she goes on just kind of patronizing him, and We see like kind of a motherly wiping of the face and stuff like that. Just stuff to really irritate Zeal. And that's what she was really living for. He manages to get away, at least briefly, where Berserker was and just try to help clean up the mess. Grimoria does catch up with him and it's like, why are you doing this? You could be off helping with more crime fighting and the city can pay somebody to clean up the mess. For which Zeal says, me coming over here and just helping the taxpayers save a little bit, that's pretty heroic too. This actually kind of irritates Grimoria, and she's like, I don't understand you. All the time that we've known each other, which hasn't been a long time, she's like, I just can't figure you out. You don't act like the other superheroes. You're not full of shit. You don't seem to be so conceited and full of yourself. In trying to soak up the limelight, trying to smooze with all the other heroes, and try to make a bigger name for yourself. You're just doing your thing. For which he said that whole limelight thing seems to be kind of like a disease, and he doesn't want to be infected, so why should he, try to pretend to be like that? And Grimoria still just uses this as a means to just kind of poke some fun at him. It's like, or perhaps you just can't find any friends because of your mopey attitude. And Zeal at this point has had enough of her. Sees some cops and heroes over here at the crime scene and points out that she's a villain. And so you see that they're all just like, hell yeah, let's go get this villain, and they go chasing her off. Finally giving him a little bit of peace and quiet. He then walks away, and we see that there's another hero over here who is just enjoying the interview that he's getting. And meanwhile, he's walking by a construction zone where a couple kids are playing. And some of the bricks from up high start falling at this kid, and we'll find out his name is Aiden. And Zeal goes ahead, he senses the danger, goes over, and saves Aiden from getting smacked by a couple bricks, which surely would have ended him. He's a little dazed, but he's okay, and he's feeling satisfied with what he did. Looks over his shoulder back at that hero getting an interview, and that guy didn't even budge. He was too wrapped up in his interview to even realize that there was somebody in danger about 20 feet from him. He then goes on top of a gargoyle and does this little brooding thing, and that's when Grimoria catches back up and, kind of was like, how dare you send a bunch of heroes after me? They were chasing me for a while. And this is where we start to get their connection. We get a little bit of a taste of what it is that connects them. And there was a deal stricken between the two in which Grimoria now has Zeal's heart. So she helped him in some way, shape, or form, and part of the deal was she has his heart. And we're not going to let on too much yet as to what all it was, but basically she's just wanting to use him as a bit of entertainment, just to pester him and do all that stuff. And tells him that it's in fact pretty lucky that she's the one that got his heart and made that deal, because somebody else could have, done something really bad with it and had him out there murdering or robbing or doing some insider trading, all that fun stuff. And she's just wanting a little bit of fun out of it, because he's like, honestly, everybody I had a grudge against is dead anyway, so I don't even have any use for that. So for the moment, this you being my little entertainment piece is good enough, as she musses up his hair. She then gets on a more serious note and is like, a lot of people that have gone through what you've gone through would have quit by now, so what keeps you going? And Zeal says he doesn't really know how to explain it. He just has this compulsive nature to help others in need. And he doesn't really care to look any further, but he's just going to go with it until he figures it out, though. It's not a top priority for him to figure out why he has this nature in him. He's just going to act on it. And then he gets his invitation from Berserker there. And what we're seeing is, and what they actually describe as a V for Vendetta situation with a bakery. And we actually see the little V for Vendetta mask. And there are a few jabs thrown at the movie here. It seems that Hero Darky Dark is not a fan of that movie. But ultimately, they're like, okay, well, we're going to go stop this guy. And Grimoria's like, well, wouldn't it have been nice if you had some friends? I'll tell you what, I'll lend you a hand, but it is going to cost you. For which Zeal is begrudgingly agreeing to. He's just like, fine. Over at the bakery, we see that Berserker is sitting on top. There's cops trying to talk with him, and he's not interested. He's like, get out of here. I'm waiting on some hero types to come stop me. And he gets his wish. Courtesy of Grimoria, Zeal shows up from behind him, from like up above, and we see her right here. And Berserker is just all too happy to see Zeal coming over to, try and stop him. And so the two start battling it out, and then Grimoria is going into the building itself and making sure that there are no innocents in there should Zeal fail to stop the building from blowing up. And who does she run into? Why, it's that kid Aiden again. This kid is just, he keeps finding the bad places to be. And so while these two are still fighting it out, Grimoria just lets them know, hey, the building's clear. However, the bakery owner, I cannot locate him. And Berserker is just like, well, I guess you guys don't remember how V for Vendetta ended, and you're kind of missing a final piece to this puzzle. And a couple more jabs thrown at the movie, but ultimately Zeal is under the impression that there's going to be some sort of moving vehicle with a bunch of dynamite and stuff in there, a bunch of explosives with the owner in it. And so tells Grimoria to check out for that. And just as he predicted, there is a van screaming towards this bakery. And so off goes Grimoria while the sun starts to set. And this sun setting gives Zeal more power. His powers are shadow-based, so it all starts to add up. Less sun, more shadow, more power to Zeal. Easy enough to follow. And starts to acquire the upper hand and really puts a beat down on Berserker here. So we see him just taking care of business. Really smacking him around. Meanwhile, Grimoria is making her way towards the van and does in fact locate the bakery owner here. And he is in fact wearing the V for Vendetta mask. Takes it off, he's pretty relieved, and then very shocked to find Aiden in here, and is like, how did you get in here? And she's like, it's me. And he goes to her and is like, are you insane? Why would you bring a child into a van filled with explosives? But never mind that for right now. Now they have to figure out how they can stop this van. First, the bakery owner asks Grimoria if she can deactivate the bomb, and she's like, not every villain knows how to work with bombs. So next, her next move is to try and stop the van. The steering wheel's missing, and presumably the pedals are fixed in a way where they can't stop or let off the gas. So now I do have a slight issue with this. If I'm to get super nerdy here, most roads are actually kind of curved in a way to, from my understanding, allow water runoff. And because of this curving, it makes your vehicles drift one way or the other. So for this vehicle to be driving straight ahead, now, if we're finding out that it's remote controlled, great. Okay, you've made up for that. Otherwise, if it's just fixed and set on its path, it shouldn't have been able to make it anywhere near, because it should have just gone off to the side of the road. So we'll see. That did stick out to me because I just I know how cars operate in roads and whatnot. That the roads are fixed in a certain way because I work on cars and we get a lot of people telling us about alignments and whatnot. And typically it comes down to it's just following the slant of the road. So, okay, moving on now that I'm done with that. So So she can't stop the van. She grabs the bakery owner, grabs the kid, and flies out of there. She throws the owner aside, but keeps the kid, and that stood out as a little reckless here. I was like, perhaps it's just because she's going too quick. He can survive that. I'm willing to be okay with that for right now, because it does look like she is flying. She gets out in front of the van, lands way out in front, hits the road and creates like a ramp for the van to go screaming off into the sky before it blows up. She actually looks pretty satisfied with the job done, but one of the heroes from earlier catches her and is like, oh, you must be an accomplice of Berserker, and before Grimoria disappears, she lets Aiden know to tell Zeal that everybody's A-okay, and then she dashes off away from all the heroes chasing after her again. Now our two fighters over here, they notice the explosion, and Berserker's like, hey, okay, well, job well done today, guy, and, we got our explosion, everything looks great until our next performance, sayonara. And Zeal's like, what the hell are you doing? No, you're a terrible human. I'm going to take you in. And Berserker's like, hey, man, calm down. You don't need to lay on the theatrics. He's like, what are you talking about? This isn't an act. And he's like, oh, no? Well, that's pretty disappointing. And goes ahead and lets out just a huge attack. Now, Zeal is able to fight off some with his powers, able to dodge others, but ultimately gets caught up in the explosion. And he's rattled pretty good. And now Berserker comes over and basically, he's doing the normal villain monologue / just calling himself like the superior and all that stuff. And it doesn't really look to be resonating at all with Zeal. He's off in La La Land. And I will say that this was the most confusing part in this book for me. It does look like he's having a series of different, kind of flashbacks. And where we have kind of like what looks to be a more evil person versus another hero. Going back and forth. This one's talking about how he can fail as many times. He'll put them back together. This one's saying, hey, you should be careful. We need good heroes like you. And then both talking about how he can be a great hero before we finally get the meetup with Zeal and Grimoria. And we see that when they first meet, Zeal is messed up. He's got a big old hole in his chest. He's missing an arm. And Grimoria is kind of taking a little pity on him and says, hey, I can help you out, but it'll cost you something. And she's like, I'm just kind of bored, so I just wanted to see if I gave you your life, will you entertain me? And he says, I'll save you from your boredom, very faintly. She laughs about it and is like, that's your offer? How do you plan to do that, hero? He says, I pledge to show you something amazing by reviving the hearts of people. And then the flashback goes away, and we're going to current day Grimoria, who has Zeal's heart, and something weird's going on. It looks to be covered in some sort of shadow magic and all this, that, and the other. And yeah, Zeal, he gets himself a big old power boost here. And he's all sorts of pissed off. And he goes on to tell him, hey, I'm going to be a true hero, and I'm going to save anybody who cries out for help, and nothing will stop me from striving for that goal. And he's done with the fun and games. Berserker readies another attack, but Zeal goes ahead and disappears into one shadow, reappears right behind him, and just gives him a good old beatdown. And we see some big beatdowns here. Now, Berserker he's down for the count. Zeal approaches. Berserker throws a little bomb over there, and it's enough of a distraction for him to make a getaway. Zeal is happy that he survived Zeal's onslaught, but now he's going to go chasing him down. Berserker throws some bombs behind him. We see the explosion, and then of course the one in the path of danger is this kid Aiden. He's just trying to relay the message from Grimoria, but now he's in danger. Without missing a beat, Zeal runs down, saves him, and bashes the big debris that's coming down on him. But it is going to allow Berserker to make a getaway, and he's like, we'll meet again, blah, 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 blah. Just hamming it up. And Aiden feels bad. He's like, I'm so sorry, the bad guy got away. And Zeal said, hey, a hero's job is saving the innocent. This is a W for today. No big deal. And a couple days later, we see the payment, the debt owed, being paid for Grimoria's help, and it is Zeal needs to spend a day shopping with Grimoria. And he's kind of pissed off about this because he's like, we have the villain still out there. He could possibly hurt somebody while I'm over here pissing about shopping with you. And Grimoria actually gives him a little bit of kind of sage advice. It's like, just enjoy the moment, enjoy the good times while you can. And he does actually think about that a little bit, and it's like, oh, okay, you know what? You're onto something. And we get kind of a Scrubs end of episode summary here. It's like life is difficult, but we do need to enjoy the good moments while they happen, because you never know what's in store for you as a hero, from like odd acquaintances to relentless adversaries, potential friend and foes, things like that. That ultimately, like, a hero's going to have to overcome strife, and you just got to enjoy those good moments. So that is where our story ends. But I do want to take a moment to kind of look at some of our back page here. Now, this looks like notes being taken kind of like by Zeal, but we have Grimoria and Zeal just going back and forth in their note taking, and it's actually pretty funny. Now, I will say Grimoria is said to be like a villain, but we really don't see any of that. I would say at worst she's more of an anti-hero. There is nothing that we saw in here outside of just pestering Zeal and stopping him from immediately dealing with Berserker right in the beginning. That was like the worst of what she did. Well, that and putting a child's life in danger by putting him on a bomb-riddled van. But outside of that, I would just call her more of an anti-hero, but we'll see. We do get a list of her powers, and it is kind of foreshadowed that the Wrath is super dangerous, and so maybe that's when she was more villainous, is when that mode was activated. But otherwise, she just really wants to pester Zeal and annoy him. And so I would say that that's a little bit of criticism. We're meant to believe that she's a villain, but honestly, she's done more heroic acts than villainous in this book. So, but ultimately, I really enjoyed what I read. Now, I would call it at least like a 7 out of 10 book for me. I'm not trying to poo-poo on it at all. There were some things that worked and some things that didn't, and it's just my overall enjoyment. I would say that it is a good thing that Grimoria is there, because Zeal can be kind of a stick in the mud to read at times, a little too brooding for my likes. And having Grimoria there to kind of lighten up the mood certainly helps. If this was without her, I don't think I would be as much of a fan. So I do like the two having their little back and forth, and her just constantly just messing with them. It is a lot of fun. So definite recommend from me. I very much enjoy what I have here. And like I said, I liked it enough where I went back the second, and I will be doing a review on that soon enough. And if this sounds like something that would interest you, be sure to check the link in the description where you can get a copy for yourself, or at least 2 to follow should another chance campaign arise. But that is all I have for today, guys. So until next time, take care, and God bless.